Hello, fellow nerds. I'm here with special guest author Jenni Bara. Jenni is an indie romance writer with a lifelong passion for telling stories. Even as a young child, she would craft tales with her endless imagination. She has improved her skills since the days of scaring younger cousins with ghost stories, but her love for books and storytelling has never wavered. In her everyday life, she's a paralegal for family law, writing unhappily ever afters. So naturally, she spends her free time writing happy endings and anything that keeps her laughing, including life with her kids. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I got really excited when I saw your history of ghost stories, and I'm going to ask you about that later for sure.
Yeah.
But we got to connect last year when you were releasing Mother Maker, which was part of the Momcom series with Brittany Nicole, Daphne Elliott, and Swathi MH. And that interview that we did with all of you guys was almost exactly a year ago, I've realized. So fill us in what the past year has been like with 2024 and the beginning of 2025.
Oh my gosh, 2024 was so busy and crazy and amazing. So we released Momcoms in January and the audio in February, and it like people took to it like crazy. Readers went crazy for the world. They loved the Boston sports world, the brownstones, the moms. Uh,
Yeah.
and I was fortunate enough to be writing a spin-off series, which keeps so I get to stay in that same world of the Boston sports. I write the Boston Revs baseball team. And Courtney Miller, who was the male main character in my Momcom, Mother Maker, he works for the team. So I just stayed right in that world and continued to write all the Boston sports fun. And Brittany Nicole, who she does the hockey team, we
Mhm.
cross over with our characters and our series, and it's been so much fun, like weaving those worlds together with her.
Yeah, I just finished reading Brittany's hockey series because her newest one just came out, and your baseball series is like next up on my TBR. So I'm really excited. That's so much fun. Congratulations on all that. And that leads me right into what I was going to ask you next. So you write about the Boston Revs baseball club, that
Mhm.
series. What led you to wanting to write about sports and baseball in particular?
So I've always been a sports romance lover. Like that as a reader, I that was my first like love of reading the sports romance. So when I actually wrote my first published book, uh, I decided on baseball. It was the irony of it was because I in my house had a dishwasher that broke, and I called the dishwasher repair person to come, like the company to come, and they sent somebody who looked exactly like Derek Jeter, who played for the baseball. And instead of
Yeah.
fixing my dishwasher, he flooded the kitchen accidentally. And so
Oh.
that is the meet cute of my first book, more than the game. And it's based on that particular moment. Now, obviously, he cleaned up the mess and went home, and that was the end of it. But my brain weaved this whole story about what it could have been if everything was totally different.
Oh,
So it was
I
very
love
fun.
that.
Yeah.
So it was just a random baseball star doppelganger
Yeah.
who like really messed up.
Yeah.
I love that. Getting inspiration from literally anywhere in life, right?
Yep.
That is hilarious. I love that. Is there any specific book or author or even a trope, a romance trope that inspired you to become a romance author?
Susan Elizabeth Phillips. That was my she was my first romance like book that I'd ever read. She's still one of my favorites. She's traditionally published. She only publishes one book every once in a while now. But
Yeah.
her ability to do like the romance and the funny and weave it into like a good story that pulled at your emotions, she definitely made me fall in love with the genre and the idea of romance.
Yeah. Do you go back and reread her books?
I've reread multiple of them. Yeah, I've reread multiple of them. I do love them.
I'm a really big rereader, but I didn't realize that not everybody is. Some of my really good friends and, Mindy that co-hosts the podcast, she hardly ever reads books more than once. And so now I'm always curious to ask people if they like to read things more than once or not, because I will read books 10 times. Like I love to reread the books that I really love. And I just thought everybody was the same as me, but.
I do. I do. I am actually a big rereader. I will reread a lot of the books that definitely like have that little like pull into me. And I'm a read out louder to my kids. So a lot of the books that I reread are like the stories that I read my oldest, and then I
Yeah.
read them all. So like now that my youngest is 7, we're starting to reread some of the like series that I read my older kids. And that's so much fun, like the Percy Jackson world, and we did
Yeah.
Magic Treehouse already. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to encourage my son to do Percy Jackson. He's 10. He's a fifth grader, and he's just never like gotten into Percy Jackson, but he recently did all the Harry Potter books, and really enjoyed those. So I'm like, you would like Percy Jackson a lot. So
I loved that series. That first Percy Jackson series is like one of my all-time favorite series ever. It's so good. Highly recommend. My kids all 3 of them loved it.
I'm gonna make him read it.
Mhm.
What is your favorite romance trope to use in your own writing?
I love a grumpy sunshine. I love writing the grump. I have so much fun with it. My first book in the Boston Rev series is a grumpy germophobic baseball player. You met him in the mom-coms, Christian
Hmm.
Damiano. And Coach Wilson is also in that series. He's another really good grump, and they are so much fun. I love writing that.
I love reading that, so we readers appreciate that. Is there a trope that maybe you love to use but put your own twist on it to try to make it a little bit different from everybody else?
I don't know if there's one that I love to use that I make a little bit different. But when I do the tropes that I don't love to write as much, I always do them a little bit different.
Mm, yeah.
Just I think because as a reader they don't like pull at me the same way. So like as a writer, I try to do them a little bit differently. A lot of people said Mother Maker was a different accidental pregnancy than they've read in other cases. Uh, Finding Out is an age gap, daughter's best friend. And that one too is a little bit different than what you normally get with an age gap. So some of those are the ones I usually put a little bit different of my own spin to them.
Yeah, I love an age gap. And every once in a while, I'm like, I feel like that says a lot about me. Maybe I should unpack that, but I'm just not going to. So, I want to talk a little bit about your history of telling ghost stories. Would you just make them up,
Yeah.
or would you like retell other stories that you had heard before?
No, I would make them up. And I have a ton of cousins who are all younger than me, not significantly. So, like, there were 2 of us that were 2 months apart. And then I have so many siblings and cousins in the next 10 years. Um, there's 23 of us.
Oh, wow.
So, between my dad's mom's side of the family. So, um, I would totally make them up. But it got to the point where I was getting in trouble because they weren't sleeping at night.
That was going to be my next
Because I
question.
was terrifying them. And in fairness, at the time, it wasn't like I was doing this as like an 18-year-old. I was doing it as like an 11-year-old and
Right.
scaring the 8-year-olds.
A
So
fellow
I was
kid.
still a kid too. But one of my favorites, and it's still a story that everyone in my family talks about, both impressed that I made it up and angry that, nobody slept for like a month after I told this story. But we have this house in Maine and they built it. So I decided when they were dynamiting, they found that they were like dynamiting the house on a graveyard. And when they disturbed the spirits, so they went into the foundation. And one of the spirits was a 9-year-old boy, and he wanted friends. So if you got too close to the wall, his hands would come out of the wall and grab you and
Gosh.
suck you into the wall to be
And
his
never let you
friend.
leave.
Right, to be his friend. And, I made up this story. And Mike, who's right around my age, like I told him this is what we are going to do. And I was like, and when I get to the part right after they pull you in forever, we're going to scream, there's a hand, and slam everybody down onto the ground so they
See, I would have been one of the kids that would have 100% had nightmares and like been running away crying from that story. I
now
totally would have done that.
we're 30-year-olds and they still talk about how haunting this story was. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Uh, have you ever had any like real life ghostly encounters?
No, I always say I want to meet a ghost. I want to see a ghost. And Britt and I went to Getting Witchy with It in Salem, Brittany's
Yeah.
school. And so she's like, you book the hotel. And I said, okay, great. So I booked the hotel, and that one hotel, is like one of the most haunted places in all of Salem. It's on the witch tour. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're staying here. And I'm just not telling her why, because she's terrified of the idea of ghosts. So she's like, why is everybody stopping here? Why do people keep standing out in front of here? What's going on? I'm like, it's haunted. We're gonna see a ghost. We did not. We did not see a ghost, but she was very unhappy with me.
I went on a ghost tour recently in my hometown, actually. There's an old tavern that you can still stay at, and they do a ghost tour. And I was with a big group of people, and it was one of those things that was like, oh, you're just like telling us about the history of the building, and there will be no experience. Like,
Yeah, that's every
wah
time I
wah.
took one. That's what they all are. They're like, oh, here's the history, and people see ghosts and blah blah blah. And I'm like, but I want to see the ghost. Show me the ghost. Don't
Right.
tell me that people died here.
Yeah, that's just a history tour, which is still
Exactly.
cool and
Hmm.
still fun.
Yep.
Um, Do you have any plans for future books or works in progress that you can share anything about? Any previews?
I do. I have should have asked this before. I have my last of my series is coming out in March.
Okay.
It's the Freak Out, which is the last of the Boston Rev series. And then Brittany and I just announced that we are co-writing a book series together, that the first book in the series comes out this summer. It's a
Oh,
small
awesome.
town suspense, grumpy sunshine, fish out of
Nice.
water. So we're really excited about that. We've had so much fun. It's set on Monhegan Island in Maine, off the coast of Maine. Um, and we also have a Mom Coms surprise coming out in a few weeks that I can't say anything more about that, but
Ooh, very exciting.
yeah.
Like you heard it here first.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm like, I don't know
awesome.
when this is airing, but maybe you heard it here first. Or maybe
Yeah.
it's already out.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes either way. So, how does it feel to get, the last of a series coming out soon?
It's well, it's really, and it's like the last of the mom-com world too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave the world and go somewhere else after this, which is equally fun and exciting. And I've had a great time with the series with Britt, and we have some other fun things we're doing together. And but it's still kind of like sad. It's like the end of a
Yeah.
chapter. You're leaving behind these people who, seem real to me. So,
Yeah. Well, and
so
they're real to us as the readers too. And we
yeah.
love them. Yeah. I imagine it's a similar but heightened feeling as a reader finishing a series that you've really loved, right? Like the same types of feelings. Well, that's all really exciting. Congratulations on finishing the series and on your upcoming projects too. That'll be super fun. So that brings us to our nerdy and dirty speed round, which is basically random questions. So uh, there's no wrong answer. Just some questions to help our listeners get to know you a little bit better as a person and not just an author. So, are you ready?
Yes.
So, if this one I think is hard, if you could only keep three apps on your phone, which ones would you pick?
My Kindle app, because
Mm,
I read all the time, and my youngest is up so much during the night that like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm usually reading a book.
yeah.
Um, my music app, because I am always got something. I am not good at silence or sitting still, so I need that. And probably the third one wouldn't even be for me. I would keep my Andy has a coloring app on my phone that like if we're out somewhere and he's being bad, I hand him the coloring app and I'm like, color a picture. And that settles him for like 10 minutes and I can get 10 more minutes of whatever I'm doing in.
What? Yep. My youngest is almost 6, and we do that with the Notes app of
Mm,
like, draw me a picture. I
mhm.
totally get that. Who is your celebrity crush?
I'm so bad at this because like I don't watch TV or movies or anything like
It
that.
could be a fictional character. We will accept a fictional character.
Oh, a fictional character. Oh, then I'm picking Beckett Langfield. He's my favorite person ever in the whole wide world. I
Yeah.
swear. He's the best. He is definitely my celebrity fictional celebrity crush.
And for listeners that haven't read, that's a character from the mom-com world. He is really great. I've
Hmm.
I've I think he might be my favorite too, actually. I don't
Hmm.
know. I like them all. They're all pretty great. What TV show or movie do you quote most often?
None. I don't ever quote any, and I never know what people are talking about when they're talking about a TV show or a movie. And like, I'll just not. And if you don't know that about me, I just kind of nod and go on with the conversation and like, don't make. But once you realize I have no idea what you're talking, like Brit, when she realized, she's like, "You don't know what that means." I was like, "No, I have no idea." But
But I'm just going with the
just
conversation.
going with it. We wrote the mom coms, and like for a year we were planning and plotting, and she kept saying, "This is we're gonna pitch it as Fuller House with Spice," and I was like, "Okay, well I know Full House was a show. I guess there's more people in this, so we're calling it Fuller than the Full House with Spice." And for a year, I let her do this. And then the books had already come out and she said it again. And I was like, you know what? I just don't get it. I don't think it makes sense. Fuller House, nobody's going to get what that means. I think we should switch to something else. And she's like, that's a TV show. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, what did you think I meant for a year? It's like,
It's like I just didn't want to hurt your feelings. I was just letting you go with it. Are people constantly trying to convince you, like, oh, you got to watch this show because it's so funny or it's so great?
my bosses at work especially do this. When we don't have interns, we just when we have interns, we watch new. I work at a law office, so when we have interns, we watch a lot more news. But when we have just us, they put on shows that they're sure I will love, or movies that I will love, and like we'll get 10 minutes into it. I am paying no attention. I am talking over it. They have no idea what's going on, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Okay, not this one." Every once in a while, they'll find one that I can actually like engage with. We just watched this show about chess that I really hated. I don't know. It's the girl who plays chess. And I was like, nothing is happening. This is only about chess. We are not watching this. We went through like 3 episodes before they were finally like, you're not paying.
Forget it. Is it The Queen's Gambit?
Is that the one about a young girl
I
who
think it is.
plays
I
chess?
didn't watch that show either because I felt the same way that you just described. Like,
So
this
it very
doesn't,
well could be. And I'm
yeah,
sorry for everyone who loves it. It's probably a me problem.
not everything is for everybody. Do you have any TV shows that you do love, or are you just not a show person?
I'm just not a show person. I don't I when I say I don't have the attention span for it, I just don't. Like within 2 minutes, I'm either asleep or my brain has moved on to something else, and
Yeah.
I'm not paying any attention anymore.
You
But
need like a TikTok series to be able to to
yeah,
follow.
well, and I have trouble with like that listening, even in
Mm,
like a lecture hall. I never learned that way. My brain was somewhere else.
yeah. It's hard. It's hard, I think, for a lot of people to just listen to stuff. So, are there any current trends, whether it's fashion or social media, pop culture, whatever, that you just like aren't cannot get on board with?
Yeah, all of them. I am not good at trends. I don't know what the trend is. I don't know that I'm supposed to be doing it.
I feel like that about clothes. Like when I go to the store, especially Target, and I look around and I'm like, that didn't look good on me in middle school, and now it's back, and it doesn't look good on anybody. Just stop it.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel like that a lot too. Is there anything in life in general that you've always wanted to do or try and just haven't yet?
Well, we said I really want to see a ghost, and I just have.
Well, yeah, that's a great answer. Fingers crossed.
I'm hoping one day it's gonna happen.
Deb, one of the podcast co-hosts, says that her house is haunted with a ghost, but it's not one that they see. It's one that like messes with them.
I'd be okay with that. If I could live with a ghost that messed with me a little bit, then I'd know that they were there, and that would be fun. Fun
Yeah,
story to
she
tell.
says that he's very friendly.
See, that's what I say. I want to be friends. Like I want to meet them and decide that we're friends, and we're gonna have a great time together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're ever in Kentucky, let me know and I'll hook you
Okay,
up with a night at her house.
okay, that's a deal.
And then last question in our nerdy and dirty round. What is your number one comfort read?
The Harry Potter series. I always go back to that when I want just something fun and light that's gonna make. I know it's sad too, but like just the whole world building and the excitement of all of it, it makes me happy. I usually, when I reread it, stop at book three, but
Yeah. I normally start at book three if I'm gonna reread it. That's funny. Have you read any of the fanfic, the Manacled or the one about Draco Malfoy and the
Hermione.
yeah, but there's one that's like a rom-com about falling in love but like being mortified by it or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the title is.
I don't know. I've heard of them, but I've never read them.
I read Manacled and really loved it. Deb
Did you?
like it like changed Deb's life. I liked it, but it wasn't like life-changing for me, but it was still a five-star read. So if you ever want to read like 1,000-page PDF file, I recommend Manacled
Okay.
for all those needs. So, Jenny, where can readers best connect with you? Is it through just Instagram or a newsletter?
Definitely I have my newsletter. It's on my website, so you can grab it there. I'm on Instagram probably the most. I try to be on TikTok, but I am not the best at it. But yeah, I'm definitely there. Jenny's World on Facebook or my Patreon.
Oh, awesome. I didn't realize you had a Patreon. I missed that. That's exciting.
Yes, Brittany Nicole, Daphne Elliott, and I have a Patreon together. So
Oh, that's
you can see
awesome.
all three of us there. It's very fun. We have a great time
Ooh.
with it.
Yeah, that's great. Where can we purchase your books?
They're on Amazon. Most of them, apart from the Fallout, are in like Barnes& and Noble online, Walmart, Target, that kind of thing. Any of those online places. We're working on the Fallout. It's having problems.
Mm,
And they're all on my website too. So you can get
that's
them.
what I was just about to ask. Do you do like special editions or signed
I
copies?
do. I have special editions that I just did. I have signed copies of all of them. I have special editions that I've done for the signings this year for all the Rev series. So those are available at the signings I'm going to, and if I have leftover, they'll be up on my website.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about the signings that you're going to. Any events, conventions, anything that you've got coming up this year?
Yes, I have so many because apparently I'm insane. Uh, I'm going to Wild and Windy West in February, so that's in Phoenix. And then Sports Romance Con, which is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think it is. Is that where Mall in America is? Going there. That is the end of February, beginning of March. Then I am doing uh it's Charm City in like right outside of Baltimore. That's April. And then I'm going to Wild and Windy in Chicago in May. And
Nice.
then for Brit, we haven't really announced this yet, but we have a multiple book tour for Summer People, our new book that we just released in June. Um, and then I'm doing Flirty in Tampa in August and the Books and Booze Cruise out of Seattle in September.
Oh, that's exciting.
Hmm.
That'll be super fun. You're doing a lot this year.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing and so much fun. And I totally knew I was signing up for all these things when I did them.
It's going to be a great year.
It is.
Well, to finish us out, this is our nerdiest thing, and we always end our episodes sharing what our nerdiest thing of the week was. And a lot of times it's book related because that's what we talk about, but it doesn't have to be. It can be anything that you feel like you nerded out or got super excited about. So we would love to hear what your nerdiest thing of the week is.
Okay. Well, for Summer People, the male main character is he does computers and he's a hacker. So my nerdy thing that I keep nerding out over lately is hacking. I
Ooh.
have learned so much about it, and it's so like it's fascinating to me, and the personality types and how they do it, and all the different like it's like being a detective in real life, but using all of the knowledge that you've gained to go onto a computer and type a bunch of stuff that then gets you into places you want to go. It's like so cool.
Have you read Lights Out?
I have not, but I've heard about it.
I'm
Um,
listening to it right now. One of the
are you?
characters is a hacker.
I should listen to it.
That might be right up your alley right now.
I'm telling you, it's so cool. I mean, it's also I'm not a paranoid person, so
Yeah.
it's not like, it doesn't scare me. Like, sure, if you want to watch me sit here at my computer, have at it. I don't really
Right.
care.
Yeah.
You're gonna be bored in 5 minutes. I'm not that exciting. But for some people, it might be a little fear inducing. So I will warn
Yeah.
you of that. But if you fall down that rabbit hole, but yeah, I've read some manifestos and talked to a bunch of hackers, and I've had a really good time with it.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How do you get in touch with hackers to talk to them? Very
So
carefully.
yes. So you have to know people. I started with people who I knew were in cybersecurity
Mm, that makes
and
sense.
like worked my way out there like a little spider web.
Yeah. That's really cool to be able to figure out how to do that so that you can write and feel like you're
Mm,
being accurate and realistic. That's awesome.
I know.
Well,
It's fun.
and that's the book coming out this summer, you
That's the
said?
book coming out this summer. Yep.
Adding it to my TBR, the never-ending TBR, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me tonight. It's been a very wonderful conversation. I'm glad to have gotten to talk to you because it's been a year.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
yeah, thanks so much. And I'm gonna download all of your baseball books now.
Have fun.
Yeah, thanks. Have a great night.
You too.